Delaware jokes, state jokes. Short Delaware jokes. Q. What's the difference between a Delaware state sorority sister and a scarecrow? A. One lives in a field and is stuffed with hay. The other frightens birds and small animals. Q. Why do Delaware state grads keep their diplomas on their dashboards? A. So they can park in handicap spaces. Q. What do you call a good-looking girl on the University of Delaware campus? A. A visitor. Q. Did you hear about the power outage at the Delaware State University library? A. 30 students were stuck on the escalator for 3 hours. Q. Did you hear about the fire in University of Delaware's football dorm that destroyed 20 books? A. The real tragedy was that 15 hadn't been colored yet. Q. What does the average Delaware State University student get on his SAT? A. Drool. Q. How many Delaware State University freshmen does it take to change a light bulb? A. None, it's a sophomore course. Q. If you have a car containing a Fighting Blue Hen wide receiver, a Fighting Blue Hen linebacker, and a Fighting Blue Hen defensive back, who is driving the car? A. The cop. Q. What is the definition of safe sex down in Delaware? A. Placing signs on the animals that kick. Q. How do you castrate an Delaware Fighting Blue Hens fan? A. Kick his sister in the mouth. Q. Why do Delaware students have TGIF on their shoes? A. Toes go in first. Q. What do you get when you drive quickly through the Delaware State University campus? A. An undergraduate degree. Q. Why are rectal thermometers banned at the University of Delaware? A. They cause too much brain damage. Q. What should you do if you find 3 Delaware Fighting Blue Hen football fans buried up to their neck in cement? A. Get more cement. Q. What's the difference between an Delaware Fighting Blue Hen fan and a carp? A. One is a bottom-feeding scum sucker, and the other is a fish. Q. Why do they sell so many button-fly jeans in Delaware? A. Because the sheep can hear the zippers a mile away. Q. How did the Delaware Fighting Blue Hen die from drinking milk? A. The cow fell on him. Q. What is the definition of a Delaware virgin? A. An ugly 12-year-old who can outrun her brothers. Q. What does a Delaware grad call a Maryland grad in 5 years? A. Boss. I'm not saying Delaware basketball players are dumb, but the coach is dressing 6 players for this Saturday's game. The rest will dress themselves. Q. Why is the wave banned in Delaware Stadium? A. 2 Fightin' Blue Hens fans drowned last year. Q. Why did the University of Delaware Regents decide to cover Delaware Stadium in cardboard? A. Because the Huskies always look better on paper. Q. What happens when blondes move from New York to Delaware? A. Both states become smarter. Q. Why aren't Delaware state cheerleaders allowed to do the splits? A. They stick to the ground. Q. Why do all the trees in Maryland lean east? A. Delaware sucks. Q. What does a girl from Delaware State do if she's not in bed by 10 p.m.? A. Go home. Q. Why do University of Delaware basketball players use body heat activated deodorant? A. Because it's the closet they will come to getting a degree. Q. Why do Delaware State students have such beautiful noses? A. They're hand-picked. Q. Why did Delaware State disband its water polo team? A. All the horses drowned. Q. What's the difference between a Delaware State diploma and toilet paper? A. About $50,000 per sheet. Q. What does it say on the back of every Delaware State diploma? A. Will work for food. Q. Why did the Delaware Tech grad cross the road? A. Better question, why is he out of jail? Q. how does a dumb blonde get into college? A. She applies to Delaware State. Q. Why should the Delaware Fightin' Blue Hens change their uniforms to orange? A. So they can play the game, direct traffic, and pick up trash without changing. Q. What's the one thing that keeps Blue Hens basketball players from graduating? A. Going to class. Q. Why did the Blue Hens football team cross the road? A. Because it was easier than crossing the goal line. Q. How is a Delaware State girl different from a bowling ball? A. Sometimes a bowling ball is hard to pick up. Q. What do Wesley College grads use for birth control? A. Their personalities. Q. How do you break a Delaware State grad's finger? A. Punch him in the nose. Q. How do you get a Delaware State fan to laugh all weekend long? A. Tell him a joke Monday morning. Q. Why do Delaware State fans smell so bad? A. So blind people can hate them too. Q. Why did Delaware change their field from grass to artificial turf? A. To keep the Blue Hens cheerleaders from grazing the field at halftime. Q. Did you hear that 9 out of 10 co-eds are good looking? A. The other one goes to Delaware State. Q. What do they call students at University of Delaware? A. Rejects from the Ivy League. Q. What's the difference between Newark and yogurt? A. Yogurt has an active living culture. Q. Why do the Delaware Fightin' Blue Hens eat cereal straight from the box? A. They choke whenever they get near a bowl. Q. What's the difference between the Delaware Stadium and a cactus? A. The cactus has its pricks on the outside. Q. What separates a good team from a great team? A. The Maryland-Delaware border. Q. How do you confuse a Delaware State student? A. You can't, they were born that way. Q. How do you get from Maryland to Storrs? A. Go east until you smell shit and south until you step in it. Q. What will you never hear a Delaware State grad say? A. I have reviewed your application. Q. What do they call students who go to Delaware? A. Rejects from Wesley College. Q. What do Delaware and Wesley College students have in common? A. They both got into University of Delaware. Q. What's the difference between a Delaware football player and a dollar? A. You can get 4 quarters out of a dollar. Q. Did you hear that Delaware's football team doesn't have a website? A. They can't string 3 Ws together. Q. How many Delaware Fighting Blue Hens does it take to change a light bulb? A. None. Lava lamps don't burn out, man. Q. What are the best 4 years of an University of Delaware grad's life? A. 3rd grade. Q. What does a Delaware native and a bottle of beer have in common? A. They're both empty from the neck up. Q. What do tornadoes and graduates from Delaware State have in common? A. They both end up in trailer parks. Q. How do they separate the men from the boys in Delaware? A. With a restraining order. Q. What's the first thing a Delaware girl does when she wakes up in the morning? A. Walks home. Q. What do you call a Delaware State football player with a championship ring? A. A thief. Q. What happened after Christine O'Donnell won the Republican primary as a Tea Party candidate? A. Sales of tin foil hats and brooms skyrocketed. Q. What happened when Democrats heckled Christine O'Donnell at a debate? A. Those that laughed instantly turned into frogs. Q. Why does Christine O'Donnell go through so many campaign treasurers? 5 in 2 years. A. Because they all refused to deduct her broomstick mileage as a campaign expense. Cemetery. One day this kid and his mom were walking past a cemetery when they passed a grave, and the kid stopped to read it. He read aloud, "Here lies a Delaware State graduate and a great Manitoba." The kid then says, "Mom, I don't get it." The mom says, "Why not?" The kid says, why are there two people buried here?